आप लोग से दोबारा मुलाकात हो रही है, बड़ा आनंद आ रहा है। आज एकादशी का बहुत अच्छा पर्व है। आज हमारे जीआरसी का उद्घाटन उपराष्ट्रपति जी के कल कर कमलों से हुआ और उन्होंने 3-4 बड़ी अच्छी बातें बोली, मैं आप लोगों के साथ साझा करना चाहता हूं। उन्होंने YouTube पर जो बोला वो लाइव है, लेकिन उन्होंने 3 बड़ी सरल सी चीज बोली। उन्होंने बोला कि जो पहले भारत, जिसको हम सोने की चिड़िया कहते थे और बीच में प्रताड़ना और ब्रिटिशर्स के खराब तरीके से उन्होंने लूटपाट करके हमसे ले गए, आज भारत उसी दिशा में आगे बढ़ रहा है और दिव्यांगजन और मार्जिनलाइज बोला उन्होंने, दिव्यांगजन, विमेन और जो सोशियो इकोनॉमिक सिस्टम में वीकर सेक्शन है, उन सब की भागीदारी का एक बड़ा महत्व उन्होंने दिया। दूसरा, उन्होंने बड़ा अच्छी चीज बोली। उन्होंने बोला जब वो सार्थक आए और जीआरसी में उन्होंने अपने चरण रखे तो उनको ऐसा अनुभव हुआ कि ये संस्था जिसमें आप सब जुड़े हैं वो एक आज की नहीं बल्कि फ्यूचर की संस्था है, क्योंकि वो भारत का निर्माण करेगी और भारत के दिव्यांगजनों का उत्थान करेगी। तो ये बहुत छोटी सी बात है, लेकिन अगर सोची जाए तो बहुत गहरी बात है, क्योंकि आप उस संस्था से जुड़े हैं जो अगले 25, 30, 50 वर्षों में भारत नहीं अपितु विश्व के दिव्यांगजनों का उत्थान करेगी। तीसरी उन्होंने बड़ी अच्छी बात बोली। उन्होंने बोला कि जब उन्होंने जितेंद्र अग्रवाल जी से हाथ मिलाया तो वो ऊर्जावान्वित हो गए, उनमें ऊर्जा का एक संचार हुआ। क्या होती है ये ऊर्जा, कैसे कुछ लोग एनर्जाइज कर देते हैं जहां भी जाते हैं। आपके हम सब के अंदर वो ऊर्जा है। जब ईश्वर देता है सबको संपूर्ण बनाकर भेजता है, लेकिन हमारी जब वो ऊर्जा नकारात्मक चीजों में अपने लिए और अपनी सीमित सोच के लिए हो जाती है तो वो ऊर्जा नष्ट हो जाती है। वही ऊर्जा अगर आप दूसरों को प्रेरित और दूसरों को प्रभावित और दूसरों के कार्य करने में लगाते हैं तो वो मल्टीप्लाई होती है, वो अत्यधिक बढ़ जाती है। और जिस दिन आपने ये निर्णय कर लिया तो आप भी वो दीपक या सूर्य के समान हो जाएंगे जो स्वयं जलता है लेकिन सारे विश्व को प्रकाशवान करता है। और इसमें टेक्नोलॉजी का बड़ा हाथ है, जैसा अभी हमारे पिछले पैनल में बोला। तो उसी पे आज हम थोड़ी सी चर्चा करेंगे। इनोवेशन इन डिसेबिलिटी सेक्टर, एक बड़ा नया शब्द मैंने सुना और सीखा आज। पर्सन्स विद डिसेबिलिटी हैविंग एक्स्ट्राऑर्डिनरी एबिलिटी। अगर आप लोग स्वयं सुबह को, हर प्रातः काल को ये अपने आप को बोले, आई मे बी अ पर्सन विद डिसेबिलिटी बट विद एक्स्ट्राऑर्डिनरी एबिलिटी, तो आपका ये जो मस्तिष्क का दृष्टिकोण है ये वैश्विक दृष्टिकोण में बदल जाएगा। तो इसी पे आज बात करते हैं। इसके लिए मैं आमंत्रित करता हूं राहुल गुप्ता जी को, जो एक्सिस बैंक में काफी सीनियर पोजीशन पे थे, सीनियर वाइस प्रेसिडेंट के तौर पे बहुत वर्षों तक उन्होंने कार्यरत रहे। उसके बाद उन्होंने अपना नया वेंचर शुरू किया है जिसका नाम है वैल्यूबल। वो उसके फाउंडर और मैनेजिंग डायरेक्टर हैं। तो मैं राहुल गुप्ता जी से विनती करूंगा कि वो आगे इस विषय को ले जाएं। जब तक राहुल गुप्ता जी आ रहे हैं तो एक श्री कृष्ण जी का एक बड़ा अच्छा श्लोक जो श्रीमद् भागवत गीता में भी कहा है, तो वो आप लोग सबको याद दिलाना चाहता हूं। क्योंकि अगर आप ये सोच रखेंगे आज एकादशी के दिन, तो शायद आप कभी भी हताश या निराश नहीं होंगे। और वो कहते हैं सुख दुखे समय कृत्वा, सुखे दुखे समय कृत्वा, लाभा लाभो जया जयो। सुखे दुखे समय कृत्वा, लाभा लाभो जया जयो। ततो युद्धा युजस्व, ततो युद्धा युजस्व, नैवम पावम अपप्यसी। अर्थात न सुख के लिए, न दुख के लिए, न लाभ के लिए, न अलाभ के लिए, अगर आप युद्ध करते हैं सत्य के लिए, धर्म के लिए, तो आपको कभी पाप नहीं लगता। तो जब भी आप धर्म के लिए, सत्य के लिए लड़ेंगे, दूसरों के लिए लड़ेंगे, तो आपकी विजय निश्चित है और उसमें आपको कभी भी पाप नहीं लगेगा। थैंक यू, थैंक यू।
Thank you so much, Siddharth. You know, this energy is much needed just when you're hosting a session before the lunchtime. But thankfully, you know, the panel before this was again so it's just been an incredible day since morning. सिद्धार्थ ने भी जो ऊर्जा की बात करी, आई थिंक वो ऊर्जा का अनुभव हम सब ने आज सुबह तो किया, बट शायद इसकी नींव कई साल पहले डॉक्टर अग्रवाल ने डाल दी थी। मुझे आज भी वो इंसिडेंट्स याद है, एंड आई वाज शेयरिंग दिस विद समबडी। जब जीआरसी की बात हो रही थी, फाउंडेशन डलना था, जीआरसी शुरू होना था, तो बीइंग अ बैंकर एक पहला सवाल जो दिमाग में था, डॉक्टर साहब पहले पैसे तो इकट्ठे हो जाए फिर जीआरसी बना लेंगे। एंड डॉक्टर साहब के वो शब्द कि जो मंदिर की नींव बाके बिहारी डालेंगे उसकी चिंता हम क्यों करेंगे। And I think it needs a big round of applause to Dr. Aggarwal, Sarthak. To what we are seeing is again just a beginning. And आज डॉक्टर साहब एक और संकल्प अब लेके निकले हैं, बाकी बिहारी की कृपा से वो भी बहुत जल्दी पूरा होगा। हिंदुस्तान दुनिया को पहली दिव्यांग विद्यालय देगा, which will set new global standards. As I said, I'm excited to be a part of this. Over the last many years, I've always been a panelist. Today, I'll get to moderate a panel. So a bit nervous, to संभाल लेना भाई. And I must share something. इससे previous panel में आसिफ बैठे थे. I must applaud him for one thing. मेरा एक अपना अनुभव है कि दिव्यांग समाज की शायद एक कमी जो पूरी अगर हो जाए तो बहुत बदल जाए। हम लोग शायद एक दूसरे के साथ कोलैबोरेट नहीं करते। When we created a group of some people who are sight challenged, it was only Asif who kept telling me, Rahul, let's keep doing it, let's keep doing it. Asif, thanks for the energy. और कभी भाई पॉलिटिकल पार्टी बनाई ना तो तुम और मैं ज़रूर साथ में रहेंगे। हाँ, तो बातें हम दोनों बढ़िया करते हैं। चलिए, मैंने अपनी पीठ थपथपा ली। Why don't I invite my amazing panel here? I think Mohit is running a bit late, so we'll let him come in as he'll. I request the organizers to let him straight come to the stage. But Pankaj, can I have you with me? Pankaj, Bhavesh, Siba, and Mohan sir. If you may please come to the stage. Bhavesh is also here? Yeah. All of So भाई, अभी वर्ल्ड कप क्रिकेट खत्म हुआ है। Is that a favorite sport in this room? Some excitement, guys. Yes, no? Lovely. Why don't we start the session with something to do with cricket? Can organizers help us with a short video?
टेंथ नेशनल कॉन्फ्रेंस फॉर डिसेबिलिटी
Volume up.
ग्लोबल रिसोर्स सेंटर के उद्घाटन के उपलक्ष्य में जो ये महोत्सव ऑर्गेनाइज किया है सार्थक परिवार ने, टेंथ नेशनल कॉन्फ्रेंस 10th नेशनल कॉन्फ्रेंस फॉर डिसेबिलिटी एंड ग्लोबल रिसोर्स सेंटर के उद्घाटन के उपलक्ष्य में जो ये महोत्सव ऑर्गेनाइज किया है सार्थक परिवार ने, मैं उसके लिए डॉक्टर जितेंद्र अग्रवाल, गुरुजन, मित्रों, बंधुओं और दिव्यांगजन को हृदय से हार्दिक बधाई देता हूँ. May we all collectively work towards mainstreaming of people with disability and make this world a better place. Jai Hind, God bless.
So yes, now the mood should be a little up, coming from a legendary cricketer who lifted the World Cup trophy. Of course, we all missed the last one, but dobara aayega. So can we have the slides as well? मैं context set करूँगा 2 मिनट का, and till the time it comes, let me just quickly introduce the esteemed panel. Mohit is yet to come, so we'll wait for him. I'll start with Pankaj. I think Pankaj aap baithe hain, right? Yes. So, and since I'm not reading from the notes, so panelists feel free to add whatever, wherever I go wrong, or if anything important I missed. So Pankaj has specially come for us from Dubai, so Pankaj, thank you. It actually means a lot. We just had one conversation, हम बात कुछ और कर रहे थे, and the minute I told him of Sarthak, he, you know, I could see that excitement and commitment, and he said, I want to come. So thanks, Pankaj. He has had over 22 years of experience in asset management and investment banking. He leads a multi-billion-dollar fund based out of Dubai called Gulf Islamic Invest, and has held several positions of responsibility. So a round of applause for Pankaj. On his right is Bhavesh Chatania. Bhavesh heads the startup banking for IDFC First Bank. I'm sure you all must be seeing the bank all over. It is the new age bank. Bhavesh, again, has over 27 years of experience, worked across industries and segment with majority of his time in financial services. So thanks, Bhavesh. A round of applause for him, please. On his right is Siba. I think Siba ka profile mere ko bilkul by heart written hai, because we are also business partners. He's a great friend and an inspiration. Siba has over 22 years of experience across industries, telecom to consulting to publishing, and then he was a fund manager with one of the fastest growing venture debt funds in the country. He's a chartered accountant, a company secretary, a law graduate, and he has did his executive MBA from UCLA. What leaves me in awe of Siba, हमने बहुत कहानियाँ और ऐसी चीज़ें सुनी है that people grow up from the ashes. His father used to sell chart in a small town in Odisha, and he grew up from there. So kudos to him. A round of applause for him as well. On Siba's right is Mohan sir. Mohan sir is an incubator. He started his career in IT businesses, and very soon he ventured into an entrepreneurial journey. A veteran with, if I'm correct, over 4 decades of overall experience. He's a founder and CEO of Aarti Labs, and recently formed a joint venture with Social Alpha. Thank you, Mohan sir, for being here.
Thank you, Dr.
So a round of applause. Can we have the slides? तो मैं थोड़ा सा context setting कर दूंगा, because I think हम एक थोड़ा सा different topic यहाँ पे cover करने की कोशिश करेंगे. We all, जब से COVID हुआ है, हम सबके life में एक जो बड़ा important शब्द आ गया है, is startups. I think we all touch startups, we feel startups, and yesterday हमने एक छोटी सी startup गली को organize किया था यहाँ पे. We had certain companies which were around assistive solution. Given अच्छा मोहित आता है, मैं उससे पहले एटलीस्ट इंट्रोडक्शन रख देता हूँ. मोहित again has 22 years of experience into financial services. He is the lead of Peak 15, which was earlier called Sequoia Capital. He, again, a prolific professional. He has built several businesses. इस कमरे में between Mohit and Pankaj, I think they manage enough wealth that, you know, इस कमरे की अगले 5 साल की startup requirement पूरी हो जाएगी. So please ensure you guys make the best of this time. We have still not got the slides. ओके, सो थोड़ा सा कॉन्टेक्स्ट सेटिंग करते हैं कि यहाँ पे हाउ डू वी सी स्टार्टअप्स नाउ. आई रिक्वेस्ट यू टू इमेजिन टू वर्ल्ड्स. देयर इज एंड दिस इज हाउ आई सी सार्थक एंड वैल्यूएबल. इनफैक्ट आज डॉक्टर अग्रवाल के काफ़ी कॉलेज डेट्स हैं. वन ऑफ दैट इज हर चौथे दिन एक मेरे को ज़रूर फ़ोन आता है, राहुल जी सब ठीक, डॉक्टर साहब सब ठीक, वैल्यूएबल बढ़िया चल रहा है, कृपा है, लगे रहिए, चलते रहिए और समय इकट्ठा हो जाएगा. और देख लीजिए ये प्रभु का आशीर्वाद है कि आज सब यहाँ बैठे हैं. लेट मी ब्रिंग अ कॉन्टेक्स्ट विद सार्थक. what we are doing is of course impeccable, unparalleled. हम वैल्यूएबल के थ्रू एक बिल्कुल दूसरी कोशिश कर रहे हैं, which I'll try to explain. Let's go to the first slide. Can we move? Thank you. There is a myth that profitability and purpose cannot coexist. Financial Times का एक डेटा है जो दिखाता है दुनिया की top 1000 companies which outperform the market, both in terms of revenues and profitability, were actually purpose-led. Next. Diversity. What is diversity? I think कल और आज में मैं कई बार एक शब्द सुन चुका हूँ, impact investing. Honestly, जब हमने valuable की पहली बार मार्केट में बात करी, बाजार में बात करी, कई very prominent journalists came up to me and said, is this patience capital? पेशेंस कैपिटल वो होता है जो बहुत समय लगता है जिन चीज़ों को बनने के लिए. आई सेड पेशेंस कैपिटल इज सार्थक. यहाँ पे हमें अलग अलग तिनके जोड़ने पड़ते हैं. जब हम कैपिटल वर्ल्ड की बात करते हैं, इट मे नॉट बी दैट. एंड डाइवर्सिटी हैज़ गॉट 8 फैक्टर्स. वी हैव शोकेस्ड दैट. जेंडर, सेक्सुअलिटी, एज, लैंग्वेज, एथनिसिटी, कास्ट एंड डिसेबिलिटी. देयर इज़ अ वेरी फेमस infogram that showcased equity और equality, और हर दिव्यांग यहाँ पे समझता है. आसिफ ने अगेन एक बहुत ताकतवर बात कही थी, हमें सब्सिडी नहीं चाहिए एंड हमें ग्रांट्स और सब्सिडी नहीं चाहिए. लेट्स प्लीज मेक इट वेरी क्लियर इन आवर हेड. हमें सिर्फ इक्वल अपॉर्चुनिटी चाहिए, हमें रैम्प्स चाहिए, हमें मार्किंग्स चाहिए. अगर आप लोग इस कमरे में एक चीज़ नोटिस करेंगे, एक सेट ऑफ सीढ़ियाँ हैं जहाँ पे हमने 100 रुपये की टेप लगा के उन सीढ़ियों को एक्सेसिबल कर दिया है. मूव फॉरवर्ड. वी आर जस्ट ट्राइंग टू शोकेस सम नंबर्स हियर. हमने 2 आयाम पकड़े. लेफ्ट साइड पे हमने दिखाया विमेन, राइट साइड पे दिखाया पर्सन्स विद डिसेबिलिटी. आई नो देयर आर लॉट ऑफ नंबर्स फ्लोटिंग अराउंड एंड शायद मेरा नंबर बहुत डिफरेंट और एग्जैजरेटेड लगेगा. ऑन द लेफ्ट साइड वी हैव शोकेस्ड विमेन वेयर वी आर सेइंग 62 साल हो गए हैं विमेन एडवोकेसी, बट अभी भी when we see a women CEO, it's an aha moment for us. दिव्यांगता तो छोड़ देते हैं. आई थिंक जब लोगों को यहाँ पर देखते हैं तो कुछ थोड़ी देर देखते हैं, अभी भी हमें अब सवाल पूछते रहने पड़ेंगे हमारे आसपास लोग कब दिखेंगे. एंड दैट्स वेयर सम ऑफ द एग्जाम्पल्स आर. स्पेक्टिकल्स. आई थिंक कई लोग इस कमरे में चश्मा पहनते हैं. लेंसकार्ट इज अ ग्रेट एग्जाम्पल. आई लव दैट कंपनी. इट्स अ $5 billion कंपनी. वन ऑफ द को फाउंडर इज व्हीलचेयर बाउंड. आप सबने पीयूष को ज़रूर देखा है शार्क पे, but I don't know how many people know that Piyush's sister is a rank holder chartered accountant. Audio books, राजेश सर ने कल एलेक्सा की बात करी. So here you have the next man. Ensure, as I said, पंकज और मोहित के बीच में इतना पैसा है, पकड़ के रखिएगा इन्हें. And electric toothbrushes, audibles, elevators were all designed for persons with disability. Each one of them is mainstream today, and we are looking for those startups which will redefine the ecosystem. Final, next slide. हम सब इस सोच से निकले, और अगर आप इस पैनल का एक कॉम्पोजिशन देखेंगे, इट्स अ वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग कॉम्पोजिशन. और हम यहाँ पे हम लोग एक कोशिश कर रहे हैं, वील ट्राई टू हैव अ कन्वर्सेशन, नॉट रियली लाइक अ पैनल. और मैं बहुत बोल रहा हूँ, थोड़ी देर में चुप हो जाऊँगा. ऑन द एक्सट्रीम राइट यू सी एन इंक्यूबेशन विद मोहन सर. On the extreme left, you see Mohit, who runs a venture equity. Then you have Siba, again थोड़ा left right कर रखा है हमने. और जान के भावेश को बीच में बिठाएगा, because bank is a balancing force. So अगर आप फिर right में देखेंगे, Siba will cover the venture debt. Pankaj again on the left will talk about most matured enterprises in today's time, and Bhavesh, as I said, is sitting in the middle. What we are trying to say, अगर ये पूरा इकोसिस्टम साथ आ जाए और अगर हम स्केल, रिटर्न और सस्टेनेंस, आई थिंक 3 शब्द, सराउंड साउंड इज SRS, वी ऑल हैव हर्ड these words, एंड आई वांट, जब जो भी इंसान यहाँ पे स्टार्टअप के बारे में सोचता है, जब इस कमरे से निकले, कृपया इन 3 शब्दों को दिमाग में बिठा लीजिएगा, SRS, स्केल, रिटर्न एंड सस्टेनेंस। धंधा बनाइए ऐसा जो मल्टीप्लाई करे, धंधा बनाइए ऐसा जो प्रॉफिट जनरेट करे, और फाइनली कंटिन्यूड बेसिस पे करे, जेनरेशंस के लिए करे। और जब इसके बीच में हम कल्चर और ESG को ले आते हैं तो हमें लगता है 20 से 25 साल लगेंगे, बट शायद हम एक ऐसी दुनिया की कल्पना कर सकते हैं विच विल बी मोर इंक्लूसिव। फाइनली, एंड आफ्टर दैट आई मूव टू द पैनल। लास्ट स्लाइड। The same thing Asif talked in the words of Swami Vivekanand. Helen Keller again said the same thing. A person without sight is not blind, but a person without vision is. So interestingly, in this, and not boasting, but you see Dr. Aggarwal leading the whole non-profit ecosystem with a sight impairment. You see another person with a sight impairment, because we all believe our vision is more important, and thanks to the people here. Why don't we start, and Mohit, since you are the last one to come in, why don't we start with you? But, you know, Mohit, यहाँ पे you have seen journeys of several startups, आपने कई startups को बनते देखा है. But, you know, every day you interact with a lot of people, and I'm sure यहाँ पे बहुत सारे buzzing बच्चे बैठे हैं who are interested to build new technologies. In your mind, Mohit, what it takes to be a buzzing entrepreneur? We'll come to assistive later. But what does it take to create a business जिसको देख के VC बोले और सेक्वा अपनी चेकबुक निकाले और मोहित यहाँ साइन करके चले जाए? What excites you? What do you look for when people use the word startup?
Thanks. Sorry everyone for being late. Google Maps can be blamed. Clearly lots of problems still in the world that need to be solved. So thank you for being entrepreneurs. I think just high level, 3 चीज़ें देखते हैं. We look for a team, we look for a market, and we look for a product. A team that is, we call it founder market fit. It means that a team that knows the most about the problem that they are trying to solve. If you're trying to solve a dating application, a youngster who's looking at social media and all the apps that help do that, that kind of persona is better to build a social media application. But if you're trying to build software for banks, well, clearly it might take a different kind of credibility of a founder. So this founder market fit thing is what we're looking for, which is this the right team that really has the pulse on the problem statement, has spent lots of time understanding the nuances of the problem, and is willing to give 10 to 15 years of their life to solve that problem. That is what we're looking for in our team. On the market itself, oftentimes we say, passion is enough. It's not. The smartest founders get beaten by a market that is very hard to crack because of licenses or regulations or just too small a market, or the market's not able to pay the price needed for the product. So you do need to think deeply around this market being able to create a company of size and scale that a venture capital investor would look to do. And then third is, ये सब तो ठीक है, founder भी ठीक है, market भी बहुत बड़ा है, but what exactly specifically is your wedge in the market? What is your right to win? What is your product proposition? What is that thing that is going to allow people to stop using what they're using today to solve that problem, but actually shift to you? That product, that service, that clarity of thought is what we're looking for. So team, market, product.
Thanks, Mohit. Mohan sir, why don't I jump to you? Because he touched on very interesting thing, and हम लोग 2 दिन से कल और आज यहाँ पे है. हम मार्केट की तो बात कर ही रहे हैं. Also just showcase some numbers that the market is estimated to be at $1.9 trillion. And आप इतने साल से मोहन सर इस इकोसिस्टम में काम कर रहे हैं, संघर्ष किया है, मार्केट को बनते देखा है. Where do you see assistive solution as an ecosystem today, and what is lacking? Is something lacking? Is everything hunky-dory? Exactly क्या हो रहा है when we talk about assistive solution? Exactly from these 3 realms: team, market and product.
So the first part is in terms of team, there are, if you look at the founders who come into assistive technologies, I've done a couple of events for innovations for assistive technologies. 75% of the founders who come into assistive technology space are typically students who are just graduating from college or who are in the last year of college. Less than 25% of are those who have had some corporate experience, and they come into building products for a market after some corporate experience. So in a sense, if you look at the founders, if I may so say, there's some lack of maturity in terms of understanding companies, markets, and the way they operate. So that is, but they come with a lot of passion, because it's very difficult for somebody to say, I want to become an entrepreneur, especially in a space that is highly marginalized, leaving behind opportunities that they will have to jobs. So it's characterized in terms of teams with people who got very high amounts of passion, but a little low on experience. Okay, you come to the markets per se. Markets are, there's a large market available across the country, but markets are not easy to reach. You don't have enough channels to reach through to these markets, and so there is while the problem is large, the number of people are large, affordability can be addressed as a issue. It is a question of how do you reach the market and how do you sustain support for these products in the market, which is a large challenge that one has to address. From the product performance side of products, if you look at it, most of the people that build products here or teams that innovate here build afresh. There are a lot of these solutions already available in abroad, but most of them don't necessarily work in India because the context is different, right? And I'll give you a simple example. I have a personal mobility scooter with me, which is built for the US market. It's used here. But within my own gated community, I can't navigate over these speed bumps that are there because the speed bumps are 4 inches high. This has got a clearance of 2 inches. So it's clearly meant for a kind of a environment, built-out environment that is typical of the US. And this is just an example, but this is true for almost all the products that are available. So products have to be innovated afresh to do two things. One is to work in the context that is India. Second is to meet some cost envelopes that are different from what is available abroad. Anything that is available abroad, and if you want to solve the same problem in India, you'll have to solve it at 1/10 the price. And that is when you will find product market fits.
Thanks. So I think, and Siva, you and I have been, trying to find the right stuff, what we intended to do. We spent a lot of time understanding assistive solutions in the market. And I think one of the points that we realized that kabhi kabar hum, problem solving ke naam pe mediocrity ka route le lete hain. Siva, you want to shed some light as to what have been your experiences when we interact with founders? We have seen some of the people, because at one point we did think, can we come up with only an assistive solutions? And Mohit, I remember coming to you very early when we were testing our thesis, and we realized mature market is not there. And Siva, you've seen this. We've been seeing this. What do you think from an attitude perspective? Is there a challenge at an attitude level, or what is missing in these founders? Given again, Mohan sir did lay out a very important point. Probably the infra is not ready. But is there anything happening at the mental level when you interact with the founders? You see something there.
Thanks, Rahul. I think a couple of points. I think Mohan sir already said 75% of the founders that come out with some solution are out of college. Now the next thing is whom they reach out to for the next step. Is it right mentorship that they are getting? Is it the right collaboration or right path they are in? Yeah, I am picking some point from yesterday conversation. It's like when someone at a school, college level, they make friends, they have somebody to go at a family level or at a extended family level. When they think to start something, the first person they reach out to is those persons whom they felt like they, somebody is approachable, or someone can help them in some way where they can take to a next step. And that's where the relationship built up happen. That's a key important aspect at an early stage of an organization or a founder looking to start a business, what kind of mentorship they are getting. I think the market is, of course, the potential is there. The sizing of the market is there. It's like who is guiding at what level? Does he have the right amount of expertise to guide someone in the right direction? That's make a more difference. The other point I want to touch upon is the collaboration, which you just started at the beginning. Everyone is trying to do certain stuff which is good for the market, but somewhere it's becoming a piecemeal approach. It might be the product is already there. We have seen a couple of products yesterday as well in the stalls that we have. Some of the products are in similar line, but is it that people can collaborate and take it to the next leap? I'll pick the quote from Mr. Asif. It's like, I don't need staircases because I don't want to go to the next floor, but I want to touch the sky. It's like how the companies wanted to take the leap to a next level by doing the right amount of collaboration, by bringing the right mentorship. That's more important.
Thanks, Deepak. Pankaj, you sit on the other end of the curve where jahan pe, the companies that you engage with are already mature. And you have spent a lot of time not just with large conglomerates and corporates, but also in the whole real estate ecosystem. And hum log abhi just starting, we were talking about market to see it as a lost opportunity or the next available opportunity. What do you think is changing in the minds of these large corporates, large investors when they are seeing this? And given that sort of a large market opportunity remains untapped, it's not always just about startups, but even large corporates coming in. Maybe you want to put some perspective to that.
First of all, thank you, Rahul. Thank you for having me. And before I address your question, right, I would like to talk about Asif, whose energy really inspired me.
Asif bhai, party to ab ban gayi hamari rajnitik. Taaliyan bajai dete hain yaar.
So, of course, the question you have asked, you will find a lot of answers for it, but if you allow me, I would like to speak a little bit about something which I am seeing here. So, my friends, please, I apologize in advance if you don't like what I'm talking. See, we all, and this is my personal belief, just to give you a bit of an idea, I have been away from country for 25 years, and God has been kind. I have seen a lot of success and a lot of hardships also, like most of us. But when I heard Asif, and I think all of us, everybody in this room, was greatly touched by his energy. My question is, what stopped others to have this energy? See, we can talk about a lot of good things, what Rahul has talked, Dr. Jitender Aggarwal, everything. We had a lovely conversation when we were waiting. But when I look at, and I think one of the panelists did mention, that this particular fraternity of people who are differently abled, they are not connecting with each other. And to be very honest, when I see the attendance, it is clearly felt. Guys, trust me, I'm telling you, I have been on multiple sides of businesses, politics, religion, you name it. It is all about, I'm sure Mohit can say, footfalls, eyeballs, bumps on the seat. It's about numbers. Unless you start gathering, interacting, forming that community which has a weight, things will not move. Second point, or rather which is my opening sentence whenever I talk to my team, whenever I talk to an entrepreneur. Also, not only real estate, we do a lot of private equity, we do a lot of entrepreneurship. I have seen, and I'm sure there are various generations sitting in this auditorium, we always say the world is not fair. You tell me one time when world was fair. World was not fair for Sita. World was not fair for Draupadi. World was not fair for Gandhiji. World was not fair for Ambedkar. World was not fair for us. Why we think world has to be fair? Guys, we have to, it's our life. It's our life. No, there's a saying in English, world doesn't owe you a living. Why we think that somebody would come and put us on pedestal and give us something? We have to fight our battle on our own. And, sorry, please, I think a bit different, I talk a bit different because I see the world different. Let us not talk about physical challenges. I'm talking about women sitting in this room. Forget now, for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. They have always been on the margins. We can talk about our physical challenge, but look at, those who are suffering at home as sort of physically able. But they came out of the home and took some time, but today they have become a power. So please don't look at things which you don't have. I think in psychology, there is a study that जो मिल गया वो मिट्टी है, जो खो गया वो सोना है. There is a very interesting study. I'm sure some of you must have heard that there was a research group made a beautiful swimming pool, some 1,000 tiles, and purposely they kept one tile missing. They filled it with beautiful water. Called all the spectators. Everybody looked at the tile missing. Nobody looked at those 999 tiles. So that is human trait. It is not with people who have mobility issues or who have vision issues. I'm telling you, if I were to consider that, okay, I don't have this issue, I may have an issue of depression. So please don't consider yourself on anything which is less than par. You have to fight your battle. There is a saying which just so that I don't forget, I wrote it, which was very simple. Jistan lage, sotan jane. Koi na jane peer parai. So why are you expecting anybody to understand you or understand your pain? Like Rahul said that they spent 100 rupees, put the tape, made things going. And I'll share 2 stories with you, and then I'll come to you. Sorry for this.
Absolutely, we are just loving it.
And I'm telling you the most prestigious institution of India, IIT Mumbai. During COVID, so IIT Mumbai runs a very interesting startup competition, which is the largest in Asia. It is called Eureka. So they have their marketing heads among the student only. This third-year student made a cold call to me in about April or May 2020, because most of the corporates were backing out from the sponsorship. COVID issue. Everybody was thinking world was coming to an end. This guy called me up through LinkedIn, reached out to me, and I entertained his call. And he said, sir, we are doing this event and we are looking for sponsorship. I live in Dubai, I have been there for long, and I know the importance of IIT Mumbai. I appreciated his gesture, his, I would say, strategy and his initiative to reach out without knowing. And cutting the long story short, that call led to not only we sponsoring Eureka in India, we took Eureka first time out of India. So IIT Mumbai, where Sarthak Educational Trust, Twitter CEO comes from, he made news in the world. That institution never went outside India from this entrepreneurship summit. As company, as Gulf Islamic Investment, we have been sponsoring it for last 3 years and hosting an event in Dubai also, which is much bigger, much grander, and now we are planning to do something with IIT Mumbai. Only one thing. What you have to take an initiative. कोई आपकी लड़ाई नहीं लड़ेगा. Second story, and I'm telling you those things which are unheard of. I'm sure most of you must be knowing about a huge temple coming up in Abu Dhabi. And why I'm telling you? Because it's a cultural thing. Now, if you talk to anybody and say that a mandir can be made in Abu Dhabi, that too by government donating 27 acres of land, and this is Islamic country. I was part of it, and when we went to rulers or one of the royal family member to seek the land and approval, the question was asked. We said, we know that the temple cannot be done here. So His Highness Sheikh Nahyan Mubarak Al Nahyan, what he said, my friend, you are mistaken. Nobody came to us asking for the land. The difference is in perception. Please understand, we are talking about entrepreneurship. We are talking about being taxpayers, not tax receivers. It all starts from initiative. So the approach, the initiative, it will all come when you show energy, when you have energy. I'm not talking about that kind of energy or motivation where we shout, speak in higher pitch, and after we go out, have lunch and forget it. I'm talking about the energy जो अंगीठी की तरह आपके अंदर दिन रात सुलगे, आपको जगा के रखे. As they say, the real dreams keep you alive. वो dreams जो आप जागते हुए देखते हैं, सोते हुए नहीं. So my request, I would request each of you, make your own small network. You should be able to fill every seat. Even people should come and sit here on stairs. That is where Sarthak will go to the next level. So that's, sorry, I took it to the other direction, but that's what's from my heart, so I wanted to speak about it.
We loved it.
Thank you. So, thank you guys. Now coming back to your question, see, and I'm talking about purely business. Trust me, other than that 2% CSR also, which is in this part of the world and other parts of the world, each corporate would look from the perspective of what they can get out. Not necessarily money. So sometimes they took in terms of brownie points, getting a perception in the market, so on and so forth. So when corporates look at, and there's a nice word which everybody knows about, impact investing. A good thing is that people are getting more aware, and they are getting more, I would say, sensitized that yes, they cannot exist alone. I'm telling you, this is not that कि किसी को बहुत ज़्यादा ज्ञान प्राप्त हो गया है. I'm talking most of the people, और कोई बहुत सद्बुद्धि आ गई है. एक बात तो सबको समझ आ गई है कि we would exist together. It's a coexistence. So we need, and I'll give you a very interesting comparison. In India only, I think there are about, let's say, shade of about 3 crores of physically challenged people. 2.5 crore हो सकता है, 2.8 crore, 3 crores. अब आप लोग सब ये बात ध्यान से सुनिए. दुनिया में करीब 200 प्लस कंट्रीज हैं. 140 countries are those which have population less than 2 crores. So we have so many countries within a country which can be market. So this is how corporates look at it. When large corporates look at an opportunity, as Mohit said, it has to be scaled. That it's an unaddressed need. So we look at that the problem or the solution which is addressing the problem or the problem which you are bringing on the table. If it is of a size, because at the end of the day, it's all about money. I'm telling you, please don't get distracted by it's all about money. So that is what, whether it's a mature corporate or whether this. But what is the difference between mature corporate and a corporate which is, I would say, climbing towards it, is patience. So mature corporate would say, okay, fine, I don't mind waiting for 7-10 years rather than 3 to 5 years. So this is how big corporate look at it. And also, for them, it is extremely important to stay relevant. They would like to address every part of the society. And especially when it comes to Indian population and when we have 20, 30, 25 to 30 million such population which is completely unaddressed. I think there's a massive opportunity. It's all about who is ready to lead. And I'm not, when I say lead, I'm not saying 20 million people, 5 million people. I'm saying even 10 people come together, identify the need. And today, thankfully, because of media, internet, enough mentorship is available. There are, to be very honest, less diligent mentees. And I'm sure Mohit would say that all those people in our system are ready to be part as a mentor. But we are looking for, most of the time when we get mentees, they want to become billionaire overnight. So this is where my answer would be. Thank you.
Thank you, Pankaj. Me, I kept smiling throughout. एक टाटा स्काई की एक ad आती थी, मांग के देखो. And it's so relevant and exactly to what Pankaj said. जब हम लोग valuable के रास्ते पे निकले, the first thing we first told the market कि if the market is giving you X return, we solve a business problem and we'll give you an X plus delta return. हम ability तक आते आते 25 स्लाइड कर चुके होते हैं, बोर कर चुके होते हैं, एंड में जाके बताते हैं, बट येस अपनी जंग तो खुद ही लड़नी पड़ती है. थैंक यू सो मच. एंड सॉरी, जस्ट ऑन दैट लास्ट पॉइंट, भाई गुरु द्रोण अगर आपको चाहिए तो अर्जुन भी तो खुद ही बनना पड़ता है, एंड दैट इज़ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. द्रोण हैं बट अर्जुन बनने की भी क्षमता खुद लानी पड़ती है, उस गुरु को समर्पित होना पड़ता है और वो लगन दिखाते रहनी पड़ती है. अगर वो भी बोलता कि आज रात में मेरे को ब्रह्मास्त्र मिल जाए तो भाई तपस्या उसको भी करनी पड़ी थी.
तो राहुल, एक बात मैं कहूँगा, और मेरे ख्याल से हमारे फ्रेंड जिन्होंने गीता श्री कृष्ण की बात कही थी, गीता में साफ लिखा हुआ है, एंड आई हैव बीन रीडिंग गीता, दैट गुरु अपीयर्स व्हेन द डिसाइपल इज रेडी.
Absolutely.
Guru appears when the disciple is ready. So I'm not trying to shirk the responsibility of what I have to do as an individual or as a company, but please, it's a two-way traffic.
That's what I was looking for from this panel, and I'm so glad that we are getting into a conversation, and eventually I would also expect the panelists to talk amongst each other. But Bhavesh, coming to you, he talked about perception. And shayad, kyunki I moved the slides pretty too quick, but one of the things that we also wrote was perception that the barriers to wisdom. You're a banker, and as I said, we purposely kept you in the middle because bankers ensure that the balance is maintained all times. But Bhavesh, when we think of a bank, typically people only think of two things. One, बैंक में जाइए, डिपॉजिट रखिए, बैंक अकाउंट खोलिए, क्रेडिट कार्ड ले लीजिए, फिक्स डिपॉजिट्स, ब्ला ब्ला ब्ला, और बैंक में जाइए, होम लोन लीजिए, कार लोन लीजिए. बैंक इज thought like an entity which is only in the business, of course, at the base, is only in the business of taking money and giving money. But in the new times, banking is much more, and who will know it better than you, who's leading the startup banking. We'll touch on the partnership in a very brief. But before that, how, if you can tell them how banks today see startups, and people always come and say, "Arey, bank to paisa hi nahi dete, bank to kaam hi nahi karte, sirf collateral hi chahiye." But how do we think of startups?
Thank you, Rahul. Thank you for, first of all, having me here. Really a privilege. What I would do is I'll quickly essentially cover 3 points. I'll certainly cover the question that you asked, Rahul, but before that, let me thank you for opening our eyes to this particular segment, right? We always thought disability was a CSR subject, right? It's certainly much more than CSR, right? It's a business opportunity also, right, apart from CSR. So so disability is not an ability, but more ability in some sense, right? So that's how we look at it. So I'll tell you about IDFC Bank. IDFC Bank is a fairly young bank, right? And we've essentially built our entire organization around 3 pillars. And those 3 pillars are essentially ethical banking, digital banking, and banking for social good. And these are not mere words. We are not just giving lip service to something here, right? We actually act on it. So when I say ethical banking, I'm essentially talking about how can we be more transparent about all that we do, including our charges that we charge to the customers, right? Don't charge whatever customer does not understand. So On this, I'm sure you would have seen our adverts also covering which all charges we essentially don't just waive off because people don't understand this comes in as fine print somewhere, right? We also disclose more than what our competitors would typically end up disclosing on the annual report and their auditor's report and so on and so forth, right? So we ensure that we are ethical in our approach in terms of doing business with our customers, in terms of disclosing more to the society than what generally is expected regulatorily out of us. We are digital first bank, so we believe digital essentially gives the power in the hands of consumers, right? In the hands of customers. So we ensure that typically that power is available in your hands in terms of doing what you want to do with the bank, right? In terms of availing its services, right? And which is why we have a digital first model, right? And the third and most important piece that we spoke about is essentially social good, right? And social good is not just a buzzword for us, right? We in fact created the entire business model based on social good, right? And when we looked at opportunity, obviously when we were setting up the bank, the whole idea is look at the opportunities available in the banking space. And obviously the big opportunity that we saw was on underbanked segment. I'm not even getting into unbanked, I'm talking about underbanked. And when we speak about underbanked, we're talking about a segment which has an account possibly, right? But which is not fully covered under the banking services. That includes your loans, that includes your insurance and so on and so forth. The entire range of financial services that we're talking about, which possibly one needs, I'm repeating the word, needs, and not sold, right? Okay. So, so when we created business models around underbanked, and one instance that I would want to essentially share with the group here, our rural banking in particular, and when we speak about rural banking and banking parlance, and I'm not picking on one bank or the other, but generally the way banks approach rural banking is they would go to rural areas, set up their branches, right? And expect people to open deposit accounts with them. That's what the approach has been with most banks. Banks would reach out to rural areas and say, oh, well, okay, now this is my requirement as per the regulator also, I'm supposed to set up some rural branches. I would go and seek deposits from these depositors, right? We don't do that. We don't open rural branches for deposits to begin with. Ours is a loan-based approach, as in banking we would call it an asset-based approach, right? Which means we go, set up a branch, give loans to people first, right? And that's the area that I spoke, when we speak about underbanked, that's the piece that we're talking about. So we have scorecards devised essentially to loan to, say, a driver, to a barber, right? We have scorecards devised. And we've actually seasoned those scorecards over a period of time. So if you look at our segment of loans, we are 75% consumer loans business, right? And our loss rates are very, very low in that segment. We know common people don't essentially default unless they're in distress. Intentional default, and as we understand in banking, there are two kinds of defaults. One is intent related, one is ability related, right? We don't see loan defaults on intent for sure, right? So that's the piece that we're talking about. So we're talking about social good, we're talking about areas which are underbanked at this point in time. And Rahul, thank you again for opening our eyes to this particular segment, right? As I said earlier, this was a completely blind spot for us, right? When we looked at this particular segment, we realized what we're missing out on, and this is what we're trying to essentially focus through our banking services now, right? Making banks or making banking services more accessible to people who are differently able, right? In some sense, right? Making our ATMs, braille enabled for that matter. Making, say, for instance, branches with ramps, so to speak, right? Making our digital platforms voice enabled, right? So these are the pieces that you do essentially to make these services accessible to people with different abilities. Third, and the piece that you spoke about, startups, right? Let me come to startups. So yes, as you correctly said, when people look at a bank, people think about essentially a bank giving loans or essentially making deposits, right? There are two key things, and obviously these are the ones that we earn money out of, right? But we're not just there to earn money out of the businesses which are got created, which is all businesses which are already got built. We want to essentially participate in the ecosystem and grow the ecosystem, so to speak. That's what we do, whichever segments that we get into, right? And when we looked at startups as a space, we understood startups as the ones which are essentially solving some of the problems of the society that we have, right? And we said, how can we solve some of these problems of the people who are solving problems for us? And which is how we looked at this segment. And when we look at startups, we don't just, again, go back and create banking products. So we didn't limit our services to just banking. Yeah. We went beyond this and created services which are beyond banking, right? And not in traditional sense beyond banking is. And I'll give you one example for the matter, right? So we looked at the space and said, what is the biggest limiting factor at an early stage for most startups coming from, say, tier 2 or any other place, right? Maybe tier 1 startups or metro startups have access to certain kind of facilities and people, right? Tier 2 startups do not have access to facilities. So we created a broad-based platform, right, which gives access to all kinds of startups. And we figured the need gaps are essentially knowledge and connect at an early stage. As long as you know, have the knowledge, right, people, as you can reach out to people who can give you the knowledge, or as long as the people who can give you the money, right? These are the segments that we should look at. So we created this platform called Leap to Unicorn, which provides knowledge and connect. I'm sorry if I've taken a little longer than what I was allotted, but I thought it was important to cover that. Thank you.
Thanks, Bhavesh. And I take so much pride to what we are doing. I think let's still keep it under the wraps. But I think I'm so excited to see that at an ideological level, we are getting extremely close to IDFC Bank. And Bhavesh, I know I will put you on an edge, but we will all look forward very soon to hear that IDFC comes out and says, by so-and-so date, and that day and that year doesn't matter. But some year which comes out and says, by this year, every aspect of physical stroke digital infrastructure of IDFC is going to be accessible. So we'll look for that. Sorry, I'm putting you on an edge. But just in the interest of time, I know we are just inching towards lunchtime. I don't even know how many people are here. But Mohit, just before we are wrapping up, one quick thing from each one of you. Mohit, just the other day, I was talking to one of the amazing Insta delivery app founder, and I said, you arrived to me when my 8-year-old son said, Dad, Papa, can we dash this product? Sorry, brand sensitization, I won't use the names. But this is what I tell the companies, that, or startups, think of, go beyond the standard age groups. If our parents, who perhaps may not be that techie, are young kids who see tech in a very different way, and people who are not really the English-speaking or educated, if you're able to create products for them, or if your products can be tuned to them, you unlock a different customer segment for yourself. A quick 1 minute by Mohit, when you deal with your startup, because I know I met you through a social engagement that you had and never left you after that. But how do you treat, or how would you like to do the messaging here on with your startups? Probably I will just wind up with 1 minute each.
So thanks, Pankaj, for making this conversation so much more real. I just want to add to what Pankaj was saying. I think it's all about belief. And it's not so much belief of what others have in you, but belief in yourself to actually go out there and be all you can be. You'll be shocked and surprised how often what you think is your weakness is actually your biggest strength. Company after company after company, when they started, all that they were doing was that they were basically building a product for themselves, for a problem that they were facing. And then they were pleasantly surprised to find that there were millions of people who had the same problem, therefore the company became big. This is the story of how Google started when its founders wanted to, just understand all the information out on the internet. This is how the Airbnb founders started when they offered a mattress in their apartment for someone who could not find a hotel room. This is how Zomato and Jitender started when he found everybody was, trying to look at menus at lunchtime to order lunch. And so he said, let me just scan it and make it available on the intranet in my office. And that's how we started all ordering on Zomato. This Uber started like that. Ritesh at Oyo got tired of living in Barsatis because he just couldn't afford the 5 stars and was looking for an alternative. So it actually is not all about the money. If I had to differ with one thing that Pankaj said, it actually is all about the problem. And if you can really, really solve that problem for yourself, I think you'll be very pleasantly surprised that others can make this company very big. And therefore, like they say, even in mental health, when folks with mental health are going through it, whatever you water
in the garden, that will grow. So stop trying to think of the negatives in your life and watering that only. Think of the 5 other things that this exact uniqueness can give you strength to go build for. And I have found founder after founder being able to do that. So I'll leave you with that thought, which is, I think you have a strength and a uniqueness that there are businesses and products that can be built from India for the world, for folks like who are facing the same challenges all over the world, and we can see massive billion-dollar companies come out in this space. I'm at least looking forward to it.
Thank you, Mohit. Mohan sir, very quick, final closing remarks from you.
So, I would think that I would agree with Mohit, because that's a thought that I've always spoken in all forums, is to say that India is very well poised to be, I would say, the powerhouse of innovation and startups in the disability area for 2 reasons. One is, again, like what Pankaj said, there are 140 countries with lesser number of people than there are in India in the disabled. I'll give you an example. There was one startup that tried to do testing of a product in Kenya. For 29 subjects, it took them 2.5 years. I said, if you had come to India, you would have done it in a quarter. So India has a population of people, a large enough population of people for you to draw feedback from, to derive problem statements. It has got a large enough population for you to test products very fast, which is not possible elsewhere in the world. Okay? And we have a huge advantage in having a lot of technical manpower that is willing to sit down and spend time to solve these problems. Given all these strengths that we have to be the innovation hub for the world, and that is one of the propositions that we are working on, to say that India is poised to be the innovation hub for all products for disability across the world, and I think that is something that we should look forward to.
Thank you, Mohan sir. And of course, I don't know if Rajesh sir is here today, but the secretary has assured us that all enablements we need. And I recall the first conversation he had, can we mobilize CSR capital? And we said, no, we only need policy enablements from the government. And yes, there's no better time for India than this. Siva, I'll skip you. Bhavesh, we'll either, before we see you next year, either we'll have some timelines, or maybe next year you'll come and put the timeline. I'll not push you hard enough to give any time now. But yes, why not IDFC come and hold the baton and say,
you'll not have to wait that long.
Cheers. Pankaj, why don't we have closing thoughts from you?
First of all, I enjoyed every bit of it. Great inputs. And I would only say one thing, and it's all about business. Guys, please see what Mohan sir said, and this is the opportunity. India, because of the size, because of your size, your price point, the solution which you would bring at a price would be attractive to the whole world. Focus on that. Don't focus on anything. You have everything. Please just come out of this mindset. I'm not saying everybody's in that mindset, but I would just, to be on the safer side, I'm saying come out of the mindset that, oh, this is lacking, that is lacking. There is no ideal world. You would always have, there is some problem, but with problems, solutions comes. And we all know, I'm putting myself in investor shoes. When a business plan is shown to us, we know that it will take 3, 5, 7 years. Just get on the job. Thank you.
Thank you, Pankaj. Just before I close this, every day in the morning, while walking from there to here, I need assistance. Every day in the morning on a treadmill, I run minimum for 1 minute at a speed of 15 without touching anything, with a simple thought in my head. If not now, then when? If not us, then who? So guys, please, ab nahi to kab, hum nahi to kaun. Let's, thank you so much, all of you. May I request Siddharth, my dear friend, Guru Bhai, to be here and, felicitate the panel.
Thank you. Can I request all the esteemed guests, Pankaj Gupta ji, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Rahul sir. I believe this session has given a lot of in-depth detail of the startups and also the importance of SRS, scale, return, and sustenance. Now I invite Rahul sir. Pankaj Gupta. Yes, okay, sir. Mr. Mohit Bhatnagar, sir. Miss, Mr. Bhavesh. And lastly, Mr. Mohan, sir. And lastly, Mr. Siba Pandey. Panda. Sorry. Yes. Thank you, everyone. You can join us at 2 after the lunch.